Welcome back to Palm Wine Central Podcast, the podcast where we explore ideas, innovations, and stories shaping our world. In today's episode, we're deep diving into how the next generation can thrive in an era of rapid technological advancement, particularly AI, artificial intelligence. Picture this: a 6-year-old designing their own video game, or a teenager coding AI models in to predict weather patterns. Sounds futuristic, right? Well, let's see what happens. We're thrilled to welcome the co-founder of Bitsy Builders, Tabot Arreytambe, to the show. Welcome to Power Central, bro.
Thanks very much, AK.
Yeah, so like I said, he's a co-founder. I think you founded this with your wife.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, it's an online learning platform, fostering crucial skills like creative thinking, problem solving, and critical analysis in children age 7 to 17. Their mission is beautifully put like this: equip young minds with the tools they need to not just navigate but build our AI powered future. Man, that's big. Again, welcome to the podcast, bro.
Thanks, man. Thanks. Happy to be here.
Oh, sorry. I didn't put your wife's name down. If you could please let the listeners know who your able co-founder is before we.
Yes, sir. Oh yeah, her name is Bitsy Arreytambe.
Yeah. So, ladies and gentlemen, his co-founder Bitsy Arreytambe. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I just want to say thank you all for inviting me here today. I'm so happy to be here on Palm Wine Central Podcast. So huge shout out to Gamba for making this happen. So fun fact for those who don't know, Gamba and I were classmates way back when in Cameroon. So we've come a long way. And so when she told me about this opportunity, I was like, I'll be more than happy to come and have a chat with you all today. And glad to be meeting you as well too today. I'm looking forward to having wide-ranging conversation with you all.
Welcome. People
Thank
be
you.
like, wait, who is Gamba?
Oh, they know you as Teres.
No, it's okay. Call me the name that you're used to. Just hello, Gamba here.
Cool.
Welcome. Ooh.
Thanks, Titu. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Extra. But yeah, let's get started like this, right? Let's get started like this. You can see the bubbly one around here. What's one skill you wish every child could master by the time they turn 17, and why?
That's a great one. One skill that I wish every child was able to master by the time they turn 17. I would say integrated problem solving. And what do I mean by that? So when we talk about integrated problem solving, we're looking at being able to think about a problem from first principles. So whatever problem you're given, how do you break it down from first principles? When you think about algorithms, and I'm sure we'll have an opportunity to talk about these things. An algorithm is basically a logical, sequential layer of steps you take to solve a problem, right? It's unambiguous. It has to be unambiguous because when you write code in a computer, like they say, garbage in, garbage out. And so if the instructions are not clear, then the computer will not be able to do anything because the computer cannot think for itself. And so the instructions you give it have to be unambiguous instructions. So for example, when you say time flies, right? Teres, you guys pardon me because I'm also a teacher, right? So I'll be doing some teaching here. When we say time flies, what comes to mind? Time flies.
I think of events. Yes.
Right. Tutu, what comes to mind? Time flies. When you just hear time flies.
Literally just passing by, just quickness.
Quickness, right? Yeah. So quickness, like you said, events. You could also think about it as your timing flies that are moving by. So time flies that are going by, right? So there are many ways in which you can interpret it. And so if you give a computer an instruction which is ambiguous, then it's not going to know what to do. And so you want to make sure that you're very clear in your thinking. That is where integrated problem solving comes into play. So you're basically using heuristics, you're thinking through problems and making sure you're very clear in your thinking and breaking it down from first principles. What is the thing I understand about this problem? How do I build upon the next thing, and so on and so forth? If you have used ChatGPT recently, ChatGPT is now mimicking that, like the way human beings think. You'd see it would show that it's spinning for some time, doing some computation, getting some numbers and putting it in there, and then building on that to come up with a solution. So for me, I'll say integrated problem solving, because if you're able to take any problem and decompose it to what is the base thing I'm trying to solve for, then you can be able to, solve any problem in the world. So it could be in business, it could be in wherever you find yourself. You'll be able to deconstruct a problem to the base layer and then be able to build upon it. So for me, that's the one skill I would say that I wish every child should master before they turn 17, integrated problem solving.
Wait a minute, AK, before you even get to the next thing, because I already know where this is about to go, because this is so tech coded. I'm like, as soon as you started speaking, I was like,
yeah.
wait a minute.
Don't worry, we're going to make sure that we break it down to a level where everybody understands.
No, you're breaking it down, but I'm just like, okay,
Yes.
I'm really in for like a treat.
Yes.
But before AK, this whole AI thing, please break this down, because the way AK be pushing for AI, I'm sitting here like, I just think it's just another Google. Honestly, what is why? What is AI? What is ChatGPT? Like, what is this?
Okay, yeah. So to break it down, it helps to look at the history of where we came from to get here. In the 1950s, 60s, researchers started working on an aspect of what they call the Turing test. So the Turing test states that if somebody is, interacting with a computer, right? You're trying to interact with a computer. Passing the Turing test would mean that the computer mimics a human being in a way that you don't know that it's the computer. Right? So you're trying to do something, you're interacting with it. If it's able to get you to think that you are interacting with a human being, then it has passed the Turing test. And so they started trying to do that through various games. They worked on the AlphaGo, where it was mostly about solving chess puzzles or human beings playing against computers and playing chess, and the computer beats the human being. The best chess players in the world, there's Garry Kasparov, who played against the IBM Watson, and was able to beat him. So it was mostly around gaming and everything. But then all along, the goal was to be able to get the computer to be able to think like a human being, right? Be able to think like the way we think, because our brains are very complex. God designed us in ways which that, the human beings are still trying to deconstruct how the human brain works. Nobody really understands how the brain works. So everything they're really trying to do now is to get a computer to be able to think the way a human being would think, like I mentioned, to deconstruct the problem and come up with a solution. And so it all started off with giving the computer basic instructions. And so programming languages came into play. They started with low-level programming languages, where you're coding at the level of the registers and assembly language and everything, but it was too low level. And so you needed really technical skills to be able to understand that. And so other languages came up above, which they call high-level programming languages like Java, C++, where you're writing in something which is close to human readable language, so that people can understand it, and then at the same time it is compiled at a low level for the computer to understand it, because basically the computer only understands zeros and ones. So whatever you write as the high-level language is going to be deconstructed into zeros and ones, and that's what the computer is going to understand. And so that has happened over this period of time. People had to learn Java, had to learn React, had to learn so many other things which are very high level. But all along, the goal was still to be able to get the computer to be able to, interact the way human beings will interact. And so there is this point that they call the singularity, which scares everybody. The singularity is when the computer is able to perfectly interact the way a human being would interact, in such a way that it now takes over and starts, training itself. So it's no longer relying on the instructions that you gave it. And so at that point is what we refer to as artificial general intelligence, where the computer is able to do everything that a human being would do, and be able to write its own code, give itself its own instructions, probably even override the instructions you gave it. And that's where like movies like I, Robot by Will Smith, we're trying to depict that, where the machines basically took over and ran the show. And so when people talk about robots coming into our homes, I think of that movie and I'm like, I'm never going to get a robot to come and be babysitting my kids, because that's what Elon Musk wants us to do. Elon Musk says you're going to have a robot you buy for about $30,000. It'll come and help babysit your kids, wash dishes and all whatnot. But when I think about that iRobot movie, I'm like, heck to the no, it's not happening. And so AI is, artificial intelligence, but we're getting to a point where we're now seeing that computers are able to structure problems in a way that human beings can think about it. Before ChatGPT, the very base layer, it would use what we call transformers to generate text, anticipate what the next text is going to be based on the models that it has been trained on. And so you feed it with a lot of data, and so based on the data it has seen, it believes that, okay, if it sees a 4, then it would anticipate that maybe this is the next word that will come after it. And so it starts predicting based on that, and then we'll ask you, how did the prediction go? And then you're like, I didn't like this prediction. That's it also not learning. So it's taking that feedback and learning more and learning more. If you look at Gemini now, which is Google's own version of ChatGPT, you would see that it gives you different options. So it will generate about 3 options and tell you to choose one. And then when you choose one, that's the computer now taking that feedback and saying, okay, I did well here, I didn't do well here, and then it uses that to retrain itself. So basically, AI is here, it's going to help us, because there are many things now that I do with ChatGPT and Gemini that previously would have taken me a longer time to do just thinking about it. But at the same time, there'll be downsides because it will also lead to loss of jobs, even though it's going to create more jobs in other areas. So it's something that I'll say each and every one of us on the call should try to make sure that we interact with it daily, because, you don't want to be left behind. So,
1 second like this. 1 second.
Yes.
For Tutu. Have you guys found her? Because she's
Tutu, was that helpful?
she's lost such, like, bro, you lost.
Tutu, was that helpful?
I'm literally like, what are you saying? But I understand what you're saying. It's so tech coded. I'm laughing because you literally said the word Gemini, and AK literally told me about this Gemini yesterday.
I see.
I'm like,
I've noticed that when I mentioned Gemini, you smiled, so I suspected that there was something going on there. Yeah, but I mean, it's really one thing for me. If there's any regret I have, is because I studied computer science, and so I remember when I was doing my master's in computer science, we did an elective in AI. And I remember going to the class because it was heavy on the math side, math and statistics. And I always hated statistics, like with a passion. And I walked into the class and the guy was talking and going deep in all of these things. I was like, what am I doing here? So I had a friend of mine, Olamide, because I was then in Nigeria, in Abuja. And so I looked at him, he looked at me. I was like, dude, you remember that movie we said we wanted to go to Silverbird and watch? He was like, yeah. I said, I think now it's time for us to leave. So we left that class, and then right after that, we dropped the elective because it was an elective. But when I look back now and see how far AI has come, I always tell myself, how I wish I just stayed in that class and just soaked up, because it would have helped me in terms of building that foundation. And now I've just been building upon it, So if there's one regret I have, is dropping that elective in AI, because I didn't anticipate that the future was going to be really centered around it.
Right. I mean, there's going to be many futures to come. We might still miss it, just like Bitcoin and all the different. But let's get to why we are here. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Let's get back to why we're here. Bitsy Builders. Just in case you guys forgot about what it is and you were lost in AI talk. Their online learning platform fosters critical skills like creative thinking, problem solving, and critical analysis in children aged 7 to 17. Their mission is beautifully simple. Equip young minds with the tools they need to not just navigate, but build our AI-powered future. So, how did Bitsy Builders come to life? Talk about that. What inspired that? What inspired you to focus, on that technology, on technology to educate, kids between 7 to 17 and not above that?
Nice. Okay. So I'll take you, let's get into a time machine and go back to 2004. When I was just getting into the University of Buea in Cameroon. I'd always had a tech, focused mindset. And this stemmed back to the time I was a kid. I was the one child in the family who loved doing experiments. I spent my time reading explaining physics textbooks and trying to carry out experiments there, like Newton's first laws of motion, second law, the cotton reel experiment. I just was always fascinated with these things. My siblings didn't understand why. Nobody understood because they all read the arts. So I was the only science person in the family. And so growing up, I always said to myself, I want to do physics or engineering. I had that clear in my mind. Then my parents wanted me to become a medical doctor. And so I remember when I was about to submit my Form B to get into UB, I filled first, second choice, I put physics, physics, physics. And the reason was because then in 2004, computer science was not a full-fledged department on its own. Now it is, but then it wasn't. We only had the closest thing I could go to was either physics or maths, and then minor in computer science. So you could only minor in it, you could not major in it. So I started looking maths. I was like, maths is too dry. Physics, I love physics. I was really good at it. So I said I'll major in physics, minor in computer science, right? So I submitted the Form B. Before I submitted it, I put first choice physics, second choice physics, third choice physics. My mom was like, you are not submitting that Form B. She brought the guidance counselor to come and talk to me. The lady looked at my grades from A level and said, well, you did better in biology than physics. Why don't you do, say, biochemistry, microbiology or something? And I told her that, this is not me. Because I remember very well when we're doing the practicals for the A levels, the guinea pig they gave me in the lab for the dissection, Therese, I dropped that thing in the lab and the thing started running everywhere. I think you're probably there. Yeah, she was probably there. I was so scared. So I could not, like me and blood. No. My guinea pig was very big. So they gave the thing. I just got into the lab. They gave me, before I knew it, the thing dropped. I started running in the lab. These how people were jumping up and down. So somebody picked it up and killed it for me. And that was, normally they're supposed to deduct points because you're supposed to kill it yourself before dissecting it. And so from there already, I knew that I was never going to make it as a medical doctor. Like, if I cannot dissect a guinea pig, then how I open it, like be able to help a human being like in surgery and whatever. And so I knew that this was not me. So she said, nope. They brought a guidance counselor. She talked to me. I told her, this is not what I want. She left. They brought the second person. She also tried her best. And I told her, you know what? Okay, go tell my mom that I'll do the microbiology or whatever it is they want me to do. But I'll go to campus and I'll never attend any class. I'll just hover around campus and then come back every day. My mom was weak. She didn't know what to do. She was like, okay, go ahead and tell him he should do the physics. So she called me. We had a family meeting with my siblings around. And she said, well, Tabot has decided to read physics. I just want to tell him that if he goes there and it's a struggle for him, let him not come back complaining. Because physics has a reputation in UB. They called it the Department of Hell on Earth. I remember when we went to see our names, if we had been selected, it was right there, welcome to the Department of Hell on Earth. And people were known to graduate in 4 or 5 years, sometimes get a past degree, you don't graduate. Like, it was known to frustrate people. And so she was like, if you go and you really struggle, don't come back. I told her, where there's a will, there's a way. And she said in a very sarcastic tone, let's clap for him. And so my siblings all clap for me. But then I went there, first year, crushed it. Like killed it, did very well. Second year, graduated in 3 years. And so now, moving to Nigeria, I had an opportunity to, sponsored by the African Development Bank, to go do my master's in computer science on a full funded scholarship at the African University of Science and Tech in Abuja. I did that. But then when I was doing my master's now, since I came from a physics background and only minored in computer science, so I took a few computer science courses, I was now in class with guys who had done physics for 4 years. And done computer science for 4 years, and they really had a solid foundation in it. So I really struggled in my master's. And the program was in such a way that because we were funded by ADB, if you had 2 C grades, they'll kick you out of the program. And you don't get a master's degree, you get a diploma and you're out. And so I was always under stress, burning the midnight oil, studying and everything to fill up the gaps in the knowledge I had, because I didn't come from a traditional computer science background. So it was a huge struggle for me. But then I was able to make it through the program. So when I came out of the program, I now said to myself, I would want to be able to do this for, my students who are coming into a computer science program. So I ended up taking a job at the Nigerian Turkish University. They've changed their name now to the Nile University of Nigeria. I was teaching undergrad students in computer science, so Java and everything. And I noticed the same thing I noticed in myself. Most of them coming in really struggle with algorithms, problem solving, data structures, and all of that. So I was like, wait a minute, if we are thinking about doing this at a university level, then it's too late. So why don't we go to high school, secondary school, and start building that foundation there so that by the time they come into the undergraduate program, they would have seen most of these things. And so that was how I started developing the initiative to do something in the secondary school, primary school, high school level. And while I was thinking about that, my former professor had this initiative she was working on in partnership with Google called the Google Computer Science for High Schools program. So I heard about it, decided to volunteer for the program, and it was basically running coding clubs for kids in that age group that we talked about, 7 to 17. I did that, and I was like, wow, I really like this. So once that program was over, I took on myself now and started running, going to schools in Abuja there. I'll meet heads of schools, principals, and try to introduce the program to them. I was like, hey, there's this program Google is running called Google Computer Science for High Schools. I can help you guys set up this in your schools. And they were like, hey, why not? So started establishing the clubs. And then late 2015, I applied for a Google grant and ended up being awarded the grant. I think I was the first African to actually be awarded that grant. It was very competitive because you compete with people globally. But I think what helped me was the track record I had establishing these coding clubs in schools and running the programs there. And so the Google gave me $15,500 for the grant. And so with that grant, I now did a teacher training program. I brought about 100 teachers from across Nigeria for about 3 days of training. And the goal for them was to take the knowledge they had received from the event we ran, the conference, and then establish coding clubs in their schools. And then we now help them make sure the schools the clubs are set up. So we did that. And from there, we saw the results that, came out of it. The kids were so happy doing the program. The testimonials were really amazing. And we saw the difference that it was making in the lives of the kids. And so then we called it the EduTeens Science Development Foundation. It was mostly run as a nonprofit, but you know how it is with running nonprofits. So we really depended on grants, donations, and everything. So I ran that for a period of time. And then eventually now, when I moved to the States, I started thinking about rebooting that year and realized that a nonprofit model was not going to be the best way to run it. So that's how we converted that into a for-profit so that parents can actually pay for their kids to do it. And we decided that online was going to be the best way so that kids can join from anywhere in the world. So we have kids in the program now who are in Texas, in Virginia, in Maryland, in Cameroon, in Nigeria, and they all connect on Zoom and they have an amazing time. So that was the journey, to establishing Bitsy Builders and what drove it, which was that seeing the need and the gap in the knowledge and skills of the kids and deciding that undergrad was too late. Why not go down to the primary, secondary, high school level? And we're seeing a huge difference now that it's making in their lives.
That is a very robust history. Very rich. But one thing I would like to know is how has that transition? Because a bulk of your work has been nonprofit,
right,
grant work. How's that transition been from a nonprofit to a for-profit enterprise that you have now?
Yeah, no, that's a very good question. So I think another thing I didn't mention is that my background is in product management. So I've done a number of entrepreneurial endeavors now, and most of it, I always apply the product thinking mindset. And as a product manager, when I put on my product thinking hat, the first thing I'm trying to do is how do I de-risk the idea in terms of making it a success. And so when I was thinking about making it a for-profit, there were a number of hypotheses we came up with my wife. So we did brainstorming on our whiteboard. We said, okay, what are the things we want to validate or invalidate? One of the first things was, is there a need for this? Like, is this a problem that parents really care about here in the United States? That was the first thing we wanted to validate. Second, ability to pay. Are parents going to be willing to pay, right? And then the third thing was, how can we test this as quickly as possible to learn as much as we can and then iterate on it over time? So we decided to send out a survey, started with friends, family. Hey, start a quick Google form, nothing. And I'm sure this is a lesson in entrepreneurship that people can actually also learn about here. Like, it's always good to test your ideas out and test them as quickly as possible, minimum viable product, all of that stuff. So we just sent out a Google form saying, hey, this is what we are working on. Bitsy Builders is an initiative, a number of questions. Are your kids already in coding? Are your kids already doing any form of activities in the summer? So this was summer of 2024. What are they doing? Gymnastics, dance camp, swimming camp, whatever it is. How much are they paying for those camps? And you realize that parents are actually paying a lot of money for those things. Have your kids ever participated in a coding camp? A lot of them, especially from African backgrounds, the answer was no, as we know. So they'll put them in sports, but then everybody's like, this coding thing can't wait, And so the answer was no. So we saw, okay, there is a need here because most of the parents have never really had their kids interact with this. In your kids' schools, do they have coding clubs that promote STEM and computer science and all whatnot? Some of them were yes, some were no. Okay. So we got all of this data. We also did some qualitative interviews. So we called them up and also talked to them, asked them some follow-on questions, got some more insights from it. The next thing was we used that to then build out a pilot, which we ran for the summer of 2024. So we did a summer boot camp for Bitsy Builders. And normally, the traditional product way or people will go about it is offer it for free and then charge later. But if you want to validate the parent's ability to pay, you have to put some money. Yeah, it's always best to put some money on it because then you're actually validating because they're opening their wallets to give you money. So if they would not give you money for it, then that means the willingness to pay or ability to pay is not there. And so we said, okay, we're going to put it at this amount. Surprisingly, a lot of them were saying that, but this is too cheap for what you guys are doing, And so we validated ability to pay, we validated the need, and then the next thing was to see how is it going to resonate with the kids. Secondly, in fact, being an online program, kids of that age, how is it like going to be for them learning on Zoom, as opposed to in person? And so for the pilot, we started with 2 hours, and we quickly learned that kids at that age sitting on the computer for 2 hours is a bad idea. They'll be like, oh, uncle, can we go now? We want to go and play. And so we learned to give frequent breaks. And then we're like, okay, this 2 hours is not working. Let's try 1 hour, 30 minutes. And then we eventually landed on 1 hour being their sweet spot. So we learned, and that's why, like I said, validated learning is very important. And learning, getting feedback, iterating quickly, and seeing results and learning and measuring and all of that. So we realized that for kids in that age group, 1 hour online was the sweet spot for them. Like with, say, a few breaks in between, 5-minute breaks for them to just go run, play around, come back, work perfectly for them. And then in terms of the instruction now, we developed a curriculum, tested it out with them. We realized that they liked when we gave them cards that they can actually see and do, as opposed to the instructor talking and then showing his screen and them seeing that and all of that. So they wanted to be able to see the thing that they have to do and then try it out themselves. So it worked better for them in terms of their assignments. And so we used the pilot to learn a lot of things, rebuilt the curriculum, over time. And that is what we are now offering in the weekend program, which is called Weekend Code Academy. So we do have 2 programs right now, the Weekend Code Academy, which is every Saturdays, and then the Summer Boot Camp, which is, of course, in the summer. And then we are doing some research around an after school version, but that hasn't kicked off yet. So right now, the two programs that are in market are the weekend program and summer bootcamp, of course.
Now, I know you said that you started your pilot program in 2024 summer. I missed the part. When did you start with the volunteer program in Nigeria? What year was that?
Yeah, this was 2015.
2015.
And so what I did, what I did for that one was, since I was a professor at a university, my undergrad students from 100 level to 400 level, I just came to class and say, hey, I'm running this program in, this number of schools. Anybody wants to volunteer with me? I'll pay your transportation and your lunch, and we'll go there. And they were like, yep, let's go. And so that's how they joined me, and we went from school to school running the programs there. Fun fact, the instructor in Bitsy Builders right now was my undergrad student in Nigeria. Yeah. Wow. So as like I've watched him grow, basically, like, from first year, second year, third year, graduated. He did his master's in Nigeria, did a second master's in France, did his PhD. He came and wrapped up his postdoc in Johns Hopkins University, and he's now working at Johns Hopkins. And so seeing that for me is, like they say, teaching is a noble profession. Those are the perks when you see your students succeed and do even better than you. Because I dropped out of a PhD program, he got his PhD, so I call him Prof. Now you can imagine the tables have turned. So now he's my Prof.
So from 2015 up until this is 2025, how would you say that your vision has evolved?
Oh yeah, man, I'm loving these questions. It has really so the underlying vision itself has not changed, but the strategy has changed. So the strategy pivoted from running it as a nonprofit to now running it as a for-profit. And then I was focused only in Nigeria. Now I'm thinking globally. And so when I rebooted in the US, and now I'm already thinking about how do I continue to scale this across the world. So like I mentioned, through the online medium, now we have kids participating from Cameroon because it works perfectly for their time zone. So the time we meet here in the US is about 11 a.m. on Saturday. It's about 5 p.m., 4 p.m. Cameroon time. So it works perfectly for those in Cameroon and other parts of the world who are currently attending. So the underlying vision is still the same, to make sure that we are equipping kids with these critical thinking skills and problem-solving skills. But in terms of the strategy and execution, that has changed. And a number of things have also contributed to it. The fact that when COVID-19 happened, yes, it was very devastating on people, but it also opened up an opportunity because schools then realized that they were not ready for online learning. And that's why in the US, you hear to talk about the learning loss that happened in those 2 years of COVID, where schools tried to pivot online, but because they had never done it before, it really didn't work out. And so there's what they call the learning loss that happened in the COVID years. But then it now told people that, hey, we need to prepare for a world where online learning may end up being the thing, and so parents now have bought computers for their kids. So all the kids who are in the program, all of them have computers at home, and parents are teaching them how to get on Zoom by themselves. So they get on Zoom. When we ask them, share your screen, they know how to share their screens. And these are 6, 7-year-old, 8-year-old kids. They know how to share their screens. They know how to mute and unmute. They know how to do reactions, because when we say, let's say a kid does well, we're like, yeah, let's celebrate this, celebrate Jasmine. They know how to put the Zoom reactions like the heart, the confetti, and all of those things. Yeah. So they know these things. So these are also skills that they are acquiring at a very early age that they wouldn't have if things like, the shift to online learning did not become the mainstay, I would say. So yes, things like that have contributed a lot to the iterations in the strategy and execution of the vision. But the vision has still stayed the same. I still see it as we're going to equip them, and then now we have developed the strategies based on the tools that are available, like Zoom. Zoom wasn't back then in 2015. The internet speeds were not what they are today. So all of these things are helping us to now interact with the kids like we are next to them, the guide by the side, like they say. So it's been great.
Okay, so Ooh, we're learning a lot because I'm learning. But this is good. No, this is good stuff. So
Yes,
I
thanks.
am interested in the structure progression of your program. So like Lockley Brunch, Village Brigade, and Found Forge. So could you tell us how each program adapts to different age groups and developmental stages, and like kind of just walk us through what the programs are?
Nice. So I'm glad you mentioned. So for the Blockley Brunch, this is the first level. So this is the 7 to 10-year-olds. For them, we're teaching them Scratch. So Scratch is a block-based programming environment that was built by MIT Media Lab. And I actually got to meet the founders of, Scratch when I went there for a conference on Scratch in 2016. So I was invited to be a speaker there. And I got to meet one of the professors who was behind the building of this tool called Scratch. And I shared about the work that we're doing in Nigeria with Scratch. In fact, I was the only African on stage, so it was a proud moment for Africa. And because of my presence at that conference, they decided to do the first Scratch conference in Africa a couple of years later. And I was actually invited to participate in the planning of that. So sometimes you never can tell what this exposure would lead to and how many more people get to benefit from, these places that you get into. Yeah. So they did the first Scratch conference in Africa a couple of years later because of the representation and my presence there. So basically the way it works is the kids are able to build games. You guys don't mind me showing you a demo of some of the things that, they do, right? Let me quickly show you. I'll just play a quick video because I have a deck that I prepared here. So that people can actually see the
Come on now.
Let's go. I come ready.
I'm prepared.
Yes. All right. So let's take, for example, this one, and then when we watch it, I'll talk through it. So let's see this one. There you go. My goodness, I could look bad at this game.
I don't understand. Okay.
It's alcohol test you're feeling.
You go one point. Let's see.
Okay,
So,
let's see.
All right, so let me show you another one. And then I'll talk through what is happening here. Okay. All right, so I'll show you one more and then tell you what was going on, so that way people can have a feel of it. So you can see this one as well.
How are we going to look just to explore this cookie clicker game and how it works? Okay.
Yes.
So by the way, it says touch the space bar to play. Okay, and that's what. And because it's cookie clicker, we just click cookie and see how we can improve our score. There is a current high score that it's possible to beat anyway. So
All right. So what is happening there is the way Scratch is designed, the kids are able to build games. Like you saw, the Flappy Bird game that we saw where the bird is flying, and even Super Mario, any of these things they can build it. As your creativity takes you, you can be able to build whatever you need to build.
Wait, hold on. So that game was built by one of the kids?
Not in our class, but in
Yes.
globally. Yes,
Okay.
yes, because the way Scratch works, you can build a project and upload it to the Scratch site, and it's available to kids around the world. And so what we are doing with our kids is the projects they work on, we get them to upload it to the Scratch site so that kids around the world can also see it. Because there is something that Scratch does where they select the best projects, from the submissions globally, and then they invite those kids to Boston for the Scratch Global Conference. So we told them that that's an opportunity. You can have opportunity to come and showcase your work by, putting it out there for people to see. So that's something we're doing. So the way it works is it's a drag and drop environment where you can drag the interface. Again, we can actually do a quick demo so you see here as we speak about it. So let me share my screen just to show you real quick. So to get on it, you just go to scratch.mit.edu. You don't even need to sign in. I can just click create, and I'm in there already. And so the first thing I would want to do is events. So you see, these are code blocks here. So you have motion for motion-related events. You have looks to change costumes. You have sound to give it some sound. You have events, so when the green flag is clicked, something happens. So I can drag that there. And then once the green flag is clicked, the cat will do something. So the cat is what we call a sprite. So I can move that back here. And then the next thing I want to do is, I want that when the green flag is clicked, let this cat move 10 steps, or let's say 30 steps. So I click the green flag, and you see the cat moved 30 steps. So that was very fast, right? It went so fast. So let me put 100 steps, and I'll show you something. So I brought the cat back. I clicked the green flag. It moved very fast. But I don't want it to move that fast. So instead of using this, I'm going to say it should glide instead. So I want it to glide. So I'll say glide for 5 seconds. And I want it to do that. That position is okay. So 100 in the X direction and 0 in the Y. So that means it's just going to move along the horizontal axis. So if we bring that back, click on it. Oh, you saw that? The cat is gliding. So things like that, right? So basically what is happening here is they are actually learning computer science concepts. They can learn if statements. They can learn, so you can see control statements here. I can do this in a way that it repeats forever. So instead of, let me disconnect this block. When the green flag is clicked, I want it to repeat 10 times. And then I do this and I click. So now it's going to repeat 10 times to do that action that I wanted it to do. So through this, they can learn about if then statements. So this says if something, then do something, or you wait for a number of seconds. So they are learning computer science concepts, but in a way that is very high level, and it's in a way that they understand, such that when they finally now get to say an undergrad degree in computer science, they can now be able to make the dots, connect the dots, and say, oh, so when we're using Scratch and saying when the green flag is clicked, repeat. So that's a loop. Wow, and a conditional statement. And if condition is true, then do something. Oh, okay. So these are the things that we are now doing in Java, in Python, and all whatnot. So that's the way that we are providing that exposure for them. So yeah, so that's what the kids do in the Blockley branch, and then in the Builders Brigade. So we start introducing them now to Python, so they can now start building things in Python language. And as you know, Python is really the foundation for artificial intelligence. And so
I don't know.
Oh, you don't. That's I forgot.
I just have to put that out there. I don't know.
I was just gonna say that like all that is decision making, right? Like that's it, like from birth, like what decision is all about. Because it's just pretty much if this, else that, and else if, and you just keep going in loops and loops, and you know, it's like infinite loops if you want, right? So it's a better way of introducing kids to beginning to start finding ways to predict or make decisions.
Yep. That's what it is. Because, like, for example, the easiest example we always give is like it was raining today. So you would say to yourself, if it's raining, I'll take an umbrella. If it's not raining, I'm not going to take one. So we see these are decisions we make every day. But then when it comes to thinking about computer coding, people now get scared. And I always try to demystify it by saying that if you just think about your everyday decisions and how you think on a daily basis, then you realize that it's not that difficult. You're just making decisions and then telling the computer what to do. So it's decision making. If this is true, then do this. Else, meaning that thing was not true, do this other thing. And that's basically it. So that's what they do. And then for the last level, so the 15 to 17, we now start really doing some cooler things with them, since they are able to how to understand. And also those are the different progressions in how we work with the kids in these different age groups.
See, okay, when you put it like that, this all right now, that looks cool. See, all the thing that you just did is that looks really, like, I want to make my own game now.
Yeah.
But then, like, I guess I think it just depends on the person that's teaching you and how they break it down. Because when I hear stuff like this, especially coming from a different industry, I'm like, oh hell no! Like I'm this. And then you just showed us, and then you just broke down X and Y. And when I think of X and Y, I think of math, and I failed math. So I'm not even here for all that. But it's actually really cool when you actually see somebody breaking it down.
Yes.
It's really different. But what makes, going back to broccoli brunch, what makes especially effective, like what does it make it effective for beginners? Like what do you think gives it that like oomph, that like, what do you think the kids get out of it, or beginners, like what do you want them to take out of it?
So because like I said, I spend a lot of time teaching. I think I spend more time in the education sector than in corporate right now. I think I spent over a decade, because I spent 6 years in Nigeria, teaching computer science to undergrad and master students, and then moved to Mauritius Island, where I was also one of the key faculty in a startup university, the African Leadership University, and then moved to Kenya, was running a data science boot camp there, and then moved here and moved into product management. Because of that, in fact, my PhD research was centered around learning, e-learning, mobile learning, and all of that. So I've dug into the research and I've gone very deep to understand what are the things that enhance motivation for learning. What are the things that drive people to want to engage? And so I've tested a number of hypotheses on all of these things. And one of the things and the way we approach our learning model is we show them what they can do first. So we start by showing them, this is a demo of like the Flappy Birds game. Since they all know Flappy Birds, now they get excited. Oh yeah, I love Flappy Birds. I've played Flappy Birds. And like, we're like, do you know you can actually build your own Flappy Birds game? Like, really? We can build our own Flappy Birds game? Like, yes, you can build your own and play it, if you want to. And so now we've been able to inspire them towards that they can look forward to something, building their own Flappy Birds game, or doing the Mario Kart, where the cat is flying and dodging buildings. So we show them the end product first. They see it. They are motivated to want to build that. And then we now get down now to say, okay, how do we achieve this? And then we start building like the building blocks to show them, okay, this is how you get the buildings to move across the screen. The assignment for that Saturday that they need to present to us the next Saturday is, you're seeing how you can get the building to move across the screen. How do you get the cat now to go up and down? So you go and try to make the cat move up and down. And now they are really excited to go and try that out. So they come back the next Saturday and they're like, yes, we're able to do this. So they achieved it. We're like, okay, next step, add clouds in the sky. Can you do that? Yes, we can. They go and try again. They come back. Some of them may not get it. Some will get it. Now that's an opportunity now to say, share your screen, show us the code. What did you do? And then we can now start asking them questions. So why did you do this? Why did you do that? So basically it's guided learning. As opposed to showing them what it is that they need to build, we give them, an example of what can be done, help them, with the first part of it, the building block, and then now have them layer in the rest of the things that they need to build. And so we'll guide those who maybe worked on it and then maybe they missed in terms of instead of putting say X for the x-axis 100, maybe they put minus 100. We will now show them where the areas in the code that they need to modify, and now they get it. So it helps retention. It sticks better because they themselves were the ones who were typing it out as opposed to us showing them what it is that they needed to do. So for us, getting them to actually able to get to a goal by showing them that, hey, this is what you can build, and then taking it in steps to build that thing. So right now, for example, they are required to do a final demo that we're going to record and send to their parents, and it's around this flying cat, where we started first of all by showing them how to move the buildings. They can see that the cat is flying, and then the next thing was move the cat up and down. So now the cat is going like Superman, dodging buildings. And then now we said add clouds, and then the next one will be make it in such a way that if the cat hits a building, you deduct 1 point. So you put a score, which is a variable on the screen. So if the cat hits a building, it's -1. If it doesn't hit a building, it's +1. So you can now see a counter and the scores are building up. And then we said that if the cat hits the building a number of times, then the game is going to be over. So game over. So that's something now that they're working towards, and we're looking forward to seeing their final projects on the 24th of May.
Okay. So talk about Founders Forge and what led you to choose Python. Because I know you mentioned like Python and Java and stuff. Yes. So what led you to choose Python for Founders Forge, considering its role in AI and data science?
Yes. So I advise a lot of young people, who come to me for career advice on what they need to do. And I always tell them that if you want to start with any language, go with Python. And the reason is because Python is really, compared to other languages, it's relatively the most easier to learn. Java has what we call, it's a strongly typed language. So that means before you declare a variable, you need to say that variable is a string or so many other things, whatever the variable is. With Python, you don't need to do any of that because it's a loosely typed language. So there are many things that Java puts as a constraint that Python doesn't have. And also, again, like I said, it's relatively easier to learn. The other thing is because Python lends itself to machine learning easily and AI. So that means it's like a 2-for-1. So by you learning Python, you're also able to do things in data analysis. There are people the DevOps folks, they use Python heavily in writing scripts and all of that. At the same time, you can use Python in machine learning, and AI. So we feel like if they have that Python background, then they can easily get themselves to become machine learning engineers or DevOps engineers or whatever it is that they want to do. So it will give them that base that they can then be able to build on. And then lastly, if you learn one language, you can learn the others because they don't really differ like very much. It's string, integers, and so on. A for loop is a for loop. They may just have a different way of writing it between Python and Java. A while loop is a while loop in any language. They may just have a different way of writing it. But if you understand the concept, then you can always quickly learn any other language. So I would put Java, Python. I would say learn Python, and you can learn any other thing after that. So that's the reason why we went with Python.
Go ahead. Out of all your programs, I know you have multiple, but give us your top, let's do 2, but give us your top 2 memorable success stories from either like Blockley Brunch or Founders Forge or like your success story.
Yeah. Oh, nice. Okay. So the first one is this student in Nigeria who was in our Founders Forge program. She was a teenager. She came through our program, had never interacted with a computer before. And, the environment in Nigeria was very hostile in terms of entrepreneurship. We were working in public schools that had no computers. And so it was tough. Like they had no computers, they had no laptops, so we had to work out different partnerships. We were able to partner with Microsoft to provide, the little tiny laptops that the kids could use. So we actually got that for a number of public schools. And so this kid was so interested in what we were doing. She worked on a number of projects. And because of that, she ended up getting invited to some conference to come and showcase what she had done, and ended up winning an award there. So for me, that was, seeing that happen, really warmed my heart, and I was so excited to see. And then the second one is one of our students who also ended up getting invited to the US for what is it called? Oops, sorry. I had a call come in. Let me just silence this. Yeah, getting invited on an all expenses paid trip for the Google Anita Buck Memorial Fellowship, because they promote women in STEM and all of that. So we try to make sure that we have at least a 50% participation for female participants in most of our programs, because there's so many opportunities. And right now, when you think about the tech workforce in the US, is between 30 to 40% of females in tech. So we're trying to see how we can boost those numbers up. Yeah. So those were the two success stories that we saw from it, and that made me know that, we're on a good path here. Let's keep going. Yeah. Even when the money wasn't there, like for the grant, because prior to the grant, I was funding it from my pocket, like from my personal savings, going to schools with the volunteers. I'm not one of the people who will tell volunteers that you're learning, you're building skills. I'm helping you build your resume. So, you're this and that. Nah, I don't do that. So I was helping pay for their transportation to go with me to the schools, and then also giving them some stipend for to buy lunch, and stuff like that. So it was all coming from my savings, and I really believed in it. I didn't know that I was ever going to get funded for it, but because of the passion I had for it, I was like, you know what, I'll keep pushing this thing until if I go broke, then so be it. And it just so happened that the Google grant eventually came along. So that really helped later on. So, yeah.
Oh, that's really dope. I love that. I love the social flex too, getting invited to these conferences and Google and all that. So keep doing what you're doing. That's actually
thank you.
Dope. So yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. People like Miss Rachel and all the likes, right? They use songs, ABC songs to get going, right? To teach them how colors, things like that.
Yep.
You have a very heavy emphasis on gamification and learning through, experiments, right?
Yep.
Why is it important for young kids, right, to learn through hands-on experiences?
Yeah. The famous adage that says, I hear, I forget, I see, I remember, I do, I understand. I hear, I'll forget it. I see, okay, I remember. So some retention there. But if I do it, I get to understand it. And that's one of the reasons why we're heavy on them learning by doing. Because we know that if you actually do it yourself, if you are tempted and you tried and didn't get it right, by virtue of the fact that you made progress, and we are now able to tell you that, okay, this is what you missed, it's easier for them to retain it, as opposed to, okay, I didn't do it, and then I will show you from scratch. I'm sure you've all taken online courses. I've taken a number of them because I'm always taking some online course somewhere. Now, this has always been my experience. When I wake up and I'm like, okay, I want to reboot my SQL. I've not learned SQL in a long time, and now I'm taking an online course. I'm watching what the person is doing. When you watch and you do it, it makes you feel like you're actually doing something, but if you've not tried solving a problem yourself, you don't get to know how much you've learned. And so I'll watch the person who do something. Okay, I'm doing the same thing. 6 months later, I come back and I'm like, what was I doing here again? I can't remember because I was not really engaging my brain, right? I was just seeing what the guy was doing and replicating the exact same thing. And that's the reason why if you see, you'll forget. But if you say, okay, this is the problem I want to solve, and then you actually try solving the problem, you get stuck, then you see maybe on Stack Overflow or somewhere else, okay, I learned a little bit about this, I come and try again. By you going through that process of actually doing, you realize that it enables retention. And so that's why we're very big on making sure that they actually get to do, as opposed to just seeing what the instructor is doing and replicating it, because they're not going to remember from now. But once they see how it's done, when they try to do it themselves, it gets to foster retention. So that's why we're big on making sure that they do it themselves.
And you guys do this live. It's not pre-recorded, right?
Yeah, it's live, man. Like they're all there on Zoom. Like you saw the videos I shared. Yeah, I'm in all the sessions. Like every Saturday, I have a date with the kids. That's how I call it, a date with these kids. Because for me, I'm very passionate about the young people, and so I'm always make sure that no matter what, people know you're not going to get to me between 10 to 12 because we have two cohorts at the moment. There's one cohort that runs from 10 to 11 and the other from 11 to 12. Those 2 hours are blocked on my calendar on Saturday. I don't care what it is. I used to play soccer. I no longer play soccer because of that block of time. Once we introduce that block, 10 to 12, I'm engaged. Forget it. Sorry. Yeah, if it's unless something really happens, then I can't make it. And even if I can't make it, I would still probably log into Zoom because I'm not the main instructor. Like I mentioned, my student from Nigeria who is now here, he's the one who leads it. But I always love to be there because for me, I'm using that opportunity to get feedback.
Right.
So I'm seeing the engagement of the students. I see at what point their energy was low and all of that. I'm taking notes and then I'll share the notes with him. You know, when we meet as a team, him, my wife, and we have an intern who is from the University of Maryland. He's doing his BS in computer science as well. So when the team meets as well, we'll be like, okay, these are things I observed. These are the tweaks we need to make here and there. And that's how we're able to improve on the program from when we ran the first bootcamp in 2024 to now that we're doing the Weekend Code Academy. It was because I was on those calls. And if I wasn't there, I would not have known what the experience was like for the kids and seeing that they were bored here, they were tired here, and we're able now to shift the time down from 2 hours to 1 hour, 30 minutes to 1, and then introduce more breaks and then do icebreakers as well. So we do icebreakers. We also realized a lot of it. At the beginning of the class, we're like, okay, we're going to do some exercise today. We'll play a video, and then we ask them to choose. So what video do you want us to dance to today? And they'll be like, hey, we're going to do this one. And then they dance, you know, and then somewhere in there, we'll do some other activity. There's one where they actually get to fill in the words. So we'll show them say 4 spaces, and then they have to guess what the word is based on the letters that have been jumbled up. You know, so things like that help them to also stay motivated and engaged during that hour block. So they always leave on a high as opposed to living on a low when they are wrapping up the program. So they look forward to Saturdays. Their parents tell us that they are like, before I even turn on before I start the Zoom meeting, I'm already seeing in my emails notifications, Jasmine has joined, Danielle has joined. Like they're joining before 10 a.m. That's to tell you how excited they are to engage with the program.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Yeah. You mentioned something about you not wanting to do biology and focus on physics and things like that. Right now, we're seeing a shortage of engineers in America. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And from where we come from, either you're a lawyer, engineer, or lawyer, doctor, engineer, or disgrace to your family, right?
Yes.
When you talk to parents, you know, when you talk to parents who enroll their kids into your program, or parents who want to enroll their kids, you know, into your program, and you know, some of them wanting maybe to, you know, not put them in technology, but rather, you know, medicine, right? Like, how do you like kind of, I don't know, talk to them to like persuade them, right, to get them to see the importance of engineering?
Yeah, that's a very nice one too. And this is something I always tell parents. We are not trying to create computer scientists and engineers out of every child in the world. No. And that's why in our mission statement, it says that we are trying to make sure they develop critical problem-solving skills, creative thinking. You realize that nothing in the mission statement talks about coding. And that was for a reason. Because the goal is not necessarily the fact that they need to know how to code. It's that we want to be able to build capacity in them to be able to solve problems. And so the way we see it is that by virtue of the fact that they come through the Bitsy Builders program and they develop creative thinking. Remember when we started at the beginning, I talked about what an algorithm was. A logical, sequential layer of steps that you take to solve a problem. And I said another thing, that it has to be unambiguous. So when you're thinking about problems, you're thinking about it with a clear mind. Like, this is how I'm breaking down a problem in order to solve it. You're clear in your thinking. You're able to communicate that clarity in how you're thinking about problems. By virtue of you being able to do that, then that means you can do that in any field. So medicine, whatever it is that you find yourself, you're able to solve problems in any field. And so we believe that we're giving them that foundation for critical problem solving, for integrated problem solving, for creative thinking in this Bitsy Builders program, that they can then, if they choose to say go into medicine, into whatever it is that they decide to go into next, they are carrying these skills and they'll be able to apply those skills in those fields. So the goal for us is not to create computer scientists out of every child. It's just to give them the foundation that they can be able to use then in solving problems. And then another thing too is that research has shown that people who have an understanding, and they don't need to have a deep understanding in different fields, are able now to cross-pollinate those fields in ways that somebody who was, say, a subject matter expert in physics only. So I studied physics all through my life and I went very deep in it, right? And then take somebody else who has an understanding of principles in physics and then goes into biology. That person is able now to come up with innovations by cross-pollinating biology and physics in ways that the person who did only physics and went deep in it will not be able to. So with that foundation that they get from understanding how computers work by developing programs in Scratch, in Python, and whatever, if they end up going into the medical field, they will be able to come up with innovations that will cross-pollinate computer science and medicine in ways that somebody who did only medicine or only computer science will not be able to. So that's another benefit in how we think about it.
That's pretty dope. I mean, we've leaned heavy on the tech side of it,
Right.
technicalities of what your program offers, but I want you to blow your trumpet a little bit. Right? Blow your own, toot your own horn.
Okay.
How many learners have you reached so far in your program, and how many teachers have you trained through these game-based techniques?
Yeah, no, that's a nice one too. I would say over 4,000 students and over about 500 teachers. Yeah. In the course of this number of years. Yeah.
That's quite a number to quantify, right? But how would you say overall that you measure success?
Yeah. So for
How
us,
do
the
you know?
way the way we measure success is, number one, the schools we visited when we're in Nigeria, for example, and established the coding clubs, are they still running? And the answer is yes. And those programs have also grown beyond what we initially, the way we initially established them. Because I'm very much in touch with those teachers. There was a time when I created a community of practice to enable the teachers to talk amongst each other. This was after the conference we did where I invited the 100 teachers from across Nigeria to come to Abuja for the 3-day conference. So we created a community of practice, and that community of practice is still alive today. So the teachers are still collaborating amongst themselves, sharing lesson notes, sharing success stories, sharing what's working in their own computer science clubs with teachers in other schools and helping them to continue to improve upon the program. Another thing is, we also show the teachers how they can be able to get opportunities for themselves. So there's this lady who, she was so passionate about it, she actually became a certified Google teacher. Because these are opportunities that most teachers don't know about. And so for me, when, teachers are not well paid, first of all, in Africa, it's sad. They do a lot of work, but they're not well paid. And so one of the things I was really passionate about as well was showing teachers that there are opportunities out there. Don't only look at the confines of Nigeria and Africa. There are teachers who are getting opportunities to travel, go to different places on fully funded, all expense paid trips to present at conferences, but you need to put in the work. If you put in the work, then your work will speak for itself. And so she eventually ended up getting a lot of these opportunities to start traveling and getting into Google funded programs, because Google is doing a lot in education. Again, people don't know about these things. So they had the Google Computer Science for High Schools program. They had Google CS First, which was a curriculum that was built for high schoolers. And I helped pilot that program when I was in Nigeria. And so I was always making sure that I'm letting the teachers know that there are opportunities, but you guys need to do the work. And so she did the work and started getting opportunities. And when other teachers saw that she was getting opportunities, they now were motivated to now start doing more with their students than they were originally doing. So for me, seeing teachers getting opportunities and being passionate about growing their CS clubs on their campuses, for me, that's a huge win and a success. And then again, the second part for me is the students themselves getting opportunities to go and compete in different countries or in different states from our program, eventually moving into, say, computer science programs, or for those who don't, still seeing that, the skills that they used or they acquired, they are leveraging that in the different fields that they are in today. And I talk to all my students, like all. For those who are taught directly or indirectly, they have access to me, either my phone, my WhatsApp, Instagram, wherever. Like they reach out to me for reference letters, and I never turn down writing reference letters for my students. So things like that for me, like the fact that I'm still in their lives and I'm getting that feedback in real time on how they are doing. Yeah, for me, I count that as a success as well.
I know you mentioned earlier about hearing from parents that their kids get excited when Saturday comes around for, to come to class.
Yeah.
What other kind of feedback do you get from parents and even some of the students themselves?
Yeah. A lot of feedback is parents actually sending me videos. Like the parents sent me a video the other day. Her daughter did not want to have lunch until she had finished the assignment that we gave them on Saturday. So which was like, see your child though. She said that she's not going to eat until she wraps up this assignment that you gave them, So for me, seeing things like that, and then another parent has sent me a video of her 6-year-old. She kept on telling her that, let me help you, do this. She was like, Mom, I got this. Don't worry. Like, you sit and watch me work. And she did it. And she was so excited when she got this work and, all of that. So the mom was like, I can't believe this, because she was seeing her as, oh, she's a 6-year-old. She will need some guidance and everything. No, she was like, Mom, I got this. You watch me work. And she got to work and did it. And so, seeing that for me makes me happy. And then also from the students themselves, they share that feedback live as well. When they get on the calls on Saturdays to say, let's say they're ending a session and like, this was a really exciting session. Kids at that age, they talk. Like they crack me up. Like that's another thing for me, just being in their midst. I'm just sitting there and watching them. I'm like, oh, look at these little ones. They talk like they're very, if a session is not good, they'll tell you. They don't care. They'll tell you like, oh, look, man, this session was so boring, or something like that. Can we end now? So you get those immediate reactions. And so we got that a lot at the beginning, but then once we started iterating on things and working on things, then we now started getting, this was the best session I've had today, and so on and so forth. So getting that feedback from them in real time also helps, because yes, if there's one thing you can be guaranteed from a child of that age group, they will tell you how they feel. They don't care about your feelings. They'll let you know that this sucked. So that's also good to hear from them.
I think that just goes back to show the type of person that you are and the type of role that you play in their lives. If there are like so quick, because let me tell you, you tell me it's time for me to eat, and I'm telling you that, oh, hold on, I'm awake and I gotta do this. Yeah, that's how you have such an impact in their life. So that's like actually really like, because you need more people like that, where it's like something where you're actually excited to do something. You actually want to do it rather than being forced to do it. Especially at a young age. Yeah, because it seems like you'll have our parents tell us, so you have to do this and that. But when you have a child that's actually wanting to, like, okay, I don't need to need you to tell me to do it. I'm going to sign in and join in. Like, that's really, really good. So keep it up, because that's a lot of people like that in the world. But
thanks.
Back to this AI talk, right?
Yes.
As AI continues to evolve, because every day is always something new that's coming out. How do you plan to stay ahead of the curve and, they would say stay 10 steps ahead, just to make sure, ensure that your curriculum remains relevant and, up to date. How do you?
Man, let me just say that you guys are asking all the amazing questions. Like, I've not had this kind of engagement in a long time, where like you're really asking the questions and things I'm thinking about. Because I tell you, this is something that keeps me up at night. Because I ask myself, will Bitsy Builders be needed 10 years from now? If with the rate of change that is happening in AI, we're now seeing like Salman Khan of Khan Academy, they're building AI tools where the AI is able to have conversations with the child. So the child is solving a problem and just talking to the computer, and the computer is responding like, have you thought about this? Have you thought about that? So I think about it. I think about it in terms of our business. That AI is moving fast. So will it take us out of business as well? And so it's something like I said, I really do think about. And one of the ways we are really trying to stay ahead of the curve here is we are also thinking about how do we incorporate that, into our programs. So as opposed to, yes, we're doing guided learning now, where we still need an instructor interfacing with them and all of that. But are there components where we can be able to integrate AI, and the kids can now have AI as a guide by the side, guiding them through their learning process, as opposed to them watching the recorded videos, because what we do is after a session is completed, we send them a recorded video so that they can watch that and then work on it again. So is there a way for us to be able to have AI be with them, and have that interaction with them as they walk through problems? So that's something I'm thinking very deeply about, how we can be able to do that. And again, there are integrations that exist today. How do we tap into that? So build a platform that can be able to enable us to do that. So that's going to be the next frontier of Bitsy Builders. And this question actually keeps me up at night in terms of how do we innovate so that we don't become obsolete in the process.
Okay. And with that being said, if you have even thought about it, or if not, it's fine. But what are your plans, if you have any, for expanding into emerging fields like robotics or cybersecurity? Like, have you thought about that? And if you do, what do you have plans for it?
I haven't really thought about it yet, because the focus has been on kids in this age group and really building that foundation for them. I see an iteration, and this may happen through partnerships. So the high level view, 30,000-foot view of it for me is working through partners. And so there is a partnership I cannot announce yet, but it's in the works with an organization that is doing very big things at scale across Africa, and they are now entering into the United States. So they have tested a number of things in cybersecurity, and DevOps and other spaces. They are now trying to get the principals to do this for kids in this age group. So they have done it for young professionals. They don't have experience working with kids. That's where I come in. So they're trying to partner with us, since we have experience working with kids and they have experience doing this for young professionals. How do we blend the two to bring it to our age group? And so that's something that is actively being discussed right now. And with time, I'm sure you will see some things unfolding.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is some real good stuff. What are the next steps for Bitsy Builders as a for-profit organization, and what do you see taking off in the next year, 2, 5 years? Like, what's the next steps?
Yeah, great one. So for us, now that we have been able to run this for approximately, so that was from summer last year to now, so approximately a year, we feel like we have a good grounding on what works for this age group. Like, we have a good grounding on what works. We've tested and validated and also invalidated some hypotheses of ours, and we'll be able to settle on a framework for what works. The next thing for us is scale. We want to go big. Now, going big, as you know, it is going to come with some challenges as well, especially doing it as an online program, right? There are certain cohort sizes that you need, especially with kids in that age group, to be able to foster retention and motivation and, learning. If you now start going to bigger numbers, say 100, 200, 1,000, What does that look like? And so these are things that I'm now thinking about. Because yes, for small cohort sizes, great. One instructor, Zoom, that age group, 6 to 5, sweet spot. If you take it to 10, that becomes a problem already. So now you need to add another instructor and break that class up. If we now start going to 100, how many instructors are we going to need? So you see, these are challenges that we need to solve for, to make sure that we don't dilute the learning experience, because I don't want it to now become like a MOOC, massively open online courses, like a Udemy, for example, or a Coursera, where since we're trying to hit scale, we are now trying to do it in the form of a recorded video that they then take at their own time. That thing does not work. Even for adults, it doesn't work. I've taken a number of Udemy, Coursera courses, and I know I didn't complete. So we're just going to experience the exact same thing in this age group. And first of all, recorded videos is even the worst for them. It's never going to work. So these are things and challenges that one will have to grapple with. But for us, I know scale is the next phase. How do we expand the program? Because we want to get more kids going through it. And those will be interesting problems to have and to solve for. Because if you don't get to experience it and then try to navigate through that, you don't get to achieve the validated learning that you need, like how we were able to learn through the pilot by making mistakes and tweaking as we went along. So I'm ready to open up the floodgates. And that's the reason why I'm now doing podcasts, appearing in different places, putting myself out there to talk about this a lot more so that, we can bring more visibility to it, open up the doors, get them coming in. We know we're going to make mistakes. When we start hitting some numbers, it's okay. We'll tweak, we'll modify, we'll iterate, and then again, we'll see what works and then what doesn't work. And we continue to move on from there. So for us, it's scale.
Okay. And I wanted to piggyback off of what you said, just making sure that nothing gets diluted. I think that's a really big aspect.
Yes.
Because like you said, a lot of things, like a lot of courses come or just a lot of programs come and it's hot for a good second. And then the next day, it's like something new. So with that being said, how do you see technology education transforming over the next decade?
Yeah, that's a good one too. One thing I know for sure is that the way we learn is going to change. And I'm taking from my experience because my friends like to say that I like school. And that's because I've been in school for so long. I try to leave school, but it seems as if school keeps bringing me back. Why do I say this? So I had an undergrad degree, right, in physics. I started a first master's in physics, and I did it for 2 years. And then I left that one. I went and did a second master's in computer science. I finished it. I started a PhD. I did the PhD for 4 years. I dropped out. Now I'm doing an MBA, and I'm struggling for my life. For the life of me, I'm struggling every day. It's not easy. I did the first year, I finished. Second year, because now, family man, with 2 kids, wife, work, Bitsy Builders, it's been a struggle. What don't I like about the MBA program is the fact that the way it is right now, I feel like they're teaching principles and concepts that I'm not applying in my everyday work environment. And I'm asking myself, why did I choose to pay close to $50,000 for this thing? So now I'm stuck because I've done 1 year of the program. I've paid a lot of money out of pocket already. I want to drop out. I talk to my wife every day that I want to drop out of this program so bad. But when I think about how much I've already invested in it, I'm not asking myself, do I just go the distance and close my eyes and just pay the remaining part and finish this thing and get the paper? But at the same time, I don't need the paper. I don't need it because I'm already working. And me getting the paper to show that I have an MBA is not going to lead to promotion at work. The promotion is going to be based on my performance in the everyday things I'm doing. So learning technology education would have to change. This whole 2-year, 4-year programs, people getting into a lot of student loans and debt, and then you come out not being sure about what your career is going to look like, or ending up choosing a career and something else that is paying well that was never related to what you actually did in school, would have to change because people don't have that time anymore. People want to be able to, what is the quickest way I can actually get this knowledge and then get into the workforce, start applying it, start earning money, and then I can do certifications here and there, which are quick, short, courses to continue to beef up my knowledge. So definitely that will have to change. And with AI coming on board and really disrupting things, the university model, I believe, will be gone within the next couple of years. We can actually see enrollment rates and how they have dropped, even for Ivy League universities. They have really, really dropped over time. And so things would have to change. Things would have to be adapted to create short courses where people can actually get the knowledge, move in, start applying, and then getting some learning on the side, in terms of professional development as they move along. But the traditional way in which school is being done today, where we're sitting on, in my class, for example, now we're 100 students with one professor, and I'm sleeping in the Zoom class because of, first of all, the time zone and everything. Yeah, that's not going to work. It's going to change. It has to change.
I need you to go ahead and just finish up this program because you see how they're garnishing wages out here, please. So just as you're already in the program, right? Just go ahead and
just go ahead and finish it.
Please.
I agree with you.
You're already in it. Just how much time do you have left?
About 19K.
No, like how much time in the program?
Time. Oh yeah, time. I'll say about 6 more months. Yeah. So I'll just close my eyes and do it. Yeah, I'll just do it.
Go ahead and just wrap this up, please.
Okay, I promise I'm going to wrap it up.
Thank you. With that being said, my last thing for you, how can we support Bitsy Builders? What do you want us to do? How can, the followers, the people, parents, the students, how can we support?
Oh, thanks very much for offering to even support. So for me, just by you inviting me, to be here today, that is a great support in itself. So I really want to thank each and every one of you for giving me this opportunity to come and share about the work that we're doing with Bitsy Builders and how parents can be able to plug into it. So parents, if you're watching this, please come and try us. We've been tried, tested, and proven to be true. There was a track record here. I remember when AK was researching about me, he actually did, some deep research, and he saw that we are not some play people, just doing things, because there are a lot of scams out there. Like, there are a lot of scams. I've participated in a number of programs to tell you that there are scams out here. Like, let me drop some names already. Whoever wants to be mad can be mad. YALI, this Young African Leaders Initiative program, there are a lot of people who come there and claim to have done this and that, running NGOs and blah. Lies. I've participated in a number of these programs, and yeah, people come out there and they're just lying. They're not doing anything. So, but we research, do your research on us, do your research on me, parents. If you're not sure, do the search, you'll see it. It's legit. We're valid. I'm not the kind of person who will do things just because, and like I said, for me, it was never about the money. It was about making a change I want to see in the world and creating a business around it now that would be able to support that change. So come try us out. The website is www.bitsybuilders.com. Bitsy as in the itsy bitsy spider, and builders.com. So yeah, come try us out. And if you all can also help, tell your friends or parents or kids in that age group that they should come and try us out, we'll be more than happy to have them test it out. And if it's not a fit for them, we're more than happy to also say, okay, didn't work out for you, and that's also fine. So I think that's the way you can help us.
I have two members for you. They're sitting right in front of you.
Okay, no, but for sign me up, because
so no, he's not playing. I want to make the bird fly too.
Right? The bird fly. As soon as I thought that, I thought Super Mario. Like, I really thought. Yeah. Mario.
No, don't worry. We'll have something for you in the near future.
Real quick, rapid response. All right. Questions for you. If you could describe Bitsy Builders and Bitsy Builders' mission in just 3 words, what would it be?
3 words. I would say creative. I would say, creative. I'll do intuitive, and I'll do. I'm trying to. It's two words, but it's in one. Can I do it as a hyphenated word? So problem solving. Yeah, creative, intuitive, problem solving.
Okay.
That's one word. Yeah.
If you could collaborate with any figure in history, right, or tech, today to inspire,
Dead or alive?
Yeah, dead or alive, to inspire your parents, right? Who would it be, and what would you create together?
Ooh, let me see. I think it's going to be Albert Einstein, because he was one of my heroes growing up, especially in the things he did, physics, E equals MC square, and all. So I think I'll work with him.
Wait, so you said what?
Albert Einstein.
No,
Einstein?
E plus what? What square?
Oh, E equals MC squared.
Let's continue. Sorry. That's
okay.
Okay. Sorry.
Yeah, and so what will we create? It's definitely going to still be around learning. It would definitely be something that enables kids to achieve learning gains, like maximum learning gains out of the learning experience. Yeah, I don't know what that's going to look like, but it would definitely be something in that area where it makes learning fun, and at the same time, you're maximizing the learning gains out of it.
Just along those lines again, real quick. Seen China introduce AI, well, starting sometime this year, right, with kids, and then Trump also mentioned that he wants US to also adopt the same thing, right? Yeah. My question to you is, how do you see the role of AI evolving in children's education over the next decade?
Yeah, AI is definitely going to be a guide by the side. The traditional sage on stage approach to learning is going to go, where you had a teacher at the center and the students were sitting and watching them. Is going to go away, because it assumed the tabula rasa approach, which means you're an empty cup that needs to be filled, right? But the guide by the side says that you are already a cup that is full, or you are a candle that is burning, and I'm trying to help that candle to burn brighter. So there's a difference in the mindset and how you're thinking about it. One is saying you're empty, I need to pour into you. The other is saying, no, you already have it in you. I'm just trying to look for that thing within you that would cause it to burn brighter, so, and I feel like that's where AI will come to be that guide by the side, as opposed to saying there's this all-knowing person who knows more than you, and then that person is telling you what you need to do. So AI will be there to assist them, take the role of the way the instructor was to them as being the person who is all-knowing, but it's actually going to be helping them fan the flames of the things that creativity that is still trying to be tapped and developed, and help them to cause it to burn brighter. So that's how I see it, the role evolving over the next 10 years.
Yes, so. Anyways, is there anything that we haven't touched on that you would like for the people to know? It's like concluding, right?
My final thoughts on this are that we need to take this very seriously, because I see parents, put their kids in sports. They want them to learn swimming. They want them to learn soccer. They want them to learn this. They want them to learn that. But then what is the typical career of somebody who goes into sports? Like, how many years do they have there? Number one, you need to be like really top of your game to actually make a career in sports, soccer, whatever it is, NBA. Everybody thinks their child will make it to the NBA, right? How many of them really do make it? And so while we are trying to chase the sports and all of these things, other people, our white counterparts and all, are basically doing these things very early. I work at Capital One as a product manager, and I'm the only black in the news to credit team. Like, I sit in meetings and I'm looking around like I'm the only person. And it's tough, because when we talk about promotions and all of these things, you need to have representation in the room, right? You need to have sponsors, executive sponsors, they call them. Somebody who, when your name comes up, they're able to speak on your behalf in rooms that you're not in. That's going to be difficult to happen if there is not somebody who looks like me in some of these rooms. And so I've been passed up for promotion a number of times. In spite of me winning awards there, these are the awards. Like, I get awards. I have this one sitting on my desk here that I won New to Credit Best Finder Fixers Award, like in terms of problem solving. So I get these things, but then when it comes promotion time, you look at the people who are getting promoted, I'm like, well, wait a minute. I had an intent that created the bank billions of dollars or saved the bank hundreds of millions of dollars. I got these awards, but then other people get promoted. And so it's really a clarion call that there's a lot more that we need to do. We need to get our kids early, like get them in these spaces early so that in the next 50 years or so, we would be the ones calling the shots in these places. And the Indians are already doing it. They are doing it. When you see the teams I'm on, the VPs, MVPs, SVPs. And then when you look at the reporting chain, you see they're hiring young people as well. But in Capital One Credit Card Division, we only have one Black VP. I'm not even talking about managing vice president, VP, one. In the whole of the card division, one Black VP. Why is that? So there's a lot more work that we need to do. And we need to open up our eyes. So we cannot keep sleeping because AI, yes, they say it's going to be the great equalizer. But at the same time, if we don't tap into it, it's actually going to create a massive divide again, like the internet did, where a lot of people found themselves being kicked out of the workforce. So they say the person who knows how to use AI will take the job of the person who doesn't know how to use AI. So yes, it's going to create a level playing field, but if we don't take advantage of it and introduce our kids early into it, then it's now going to be a great divider, and then we find ourselves being left behind again. So let's not sleep. Let's wake up and let's keep pushing.
So your company is terrible at hiring, by the way. Anyways, let's move.
It is. No, for real though. It's for real though. Yeah, it's real.
I was about to just say, I have a statement due in the next couple of weeks. So what can be done? I have to pay my credit card.
Get this card.
Woo! Get a little.
That is so funny.
Discount or something.
Right.
Take a little statement off or something.
That's funny, man. That's so funny.
That is so funny.
Talk about representation.
Unfortunately, I can't
help.
Right. And unfortunately, I'm not in a place where I can help.
It's okay. We want you to keep your job and want you to be okay. I'll pay it off.
You pay it off. Thank you.
No worries. Share did my social security address with him. You got Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Coming on and sharing your vision, your creativity with us. They say the youth or the kids are the leaders of tomorrow. So you like that pioneer for them, you know what I mean? So we deeply appreciate you for that. So thank you.
Thank you.
On and again sharing your passion and vision with us today. You've shown how investing in our young minds can transform entire communities and indeed the world.
Yes.
So thank you. And so thank you to our wonderful listeners for joining us again in today's episode of Palm Wine Central Podcast. If today's conversation has inspired you, visit Bitsy Builders. BitsyBuilders.com. It will be somewhere in the show notes to explore their programs and learn how to get involved. Get your kids involved, man. You know what I mean? Not just like the set sports and OF. But anyways, remember to subscribe. Leave a review and share this episode with anyone passionate about the future of education. Together, let's build a brighter tomorrow. One young innovator at a time. So until next time, keep exploring, keep creating, and keep investing in what truly matters. I'm one of your hosts, Uncle AK. I got the beautiful T and the beautiful Tutu with us. I call them the T Squared. And our guest today is Tabot. Wait, what was that?
I guess it's also a T.
It's also a T. Tabot Arreytambe.
Triple T. So anyway,
triple T.
I'm somewhere with A all the way down there. But anyways, guys. Have a wonderful, rest of your week. Cheers.